How many people are in a yellow center of gravity now after the crisis? Hello, this is Chris speaking, Shores of Infinity, with a Spell Dynamics video. About 2 years ago, I had a chat with Peter from White Light District, which is a YouTube channel and podcast channel, about the Humpty Dumpty phase. Peter's idea was that the pandemic, the crisis, would push a lot of people from green into yellow. If you are Humpty Dumpty, you cannot keep sitting on the wall, you have to fall. Either you fall back to orange, if you're centered in green, or you progress to yellow. The easier thing is, of course, to go back to orange. But if there's some extreme stress, it has been shown in the past that stressful global or national situations can push people into consciousness or into a traumatic unconsciousness, of course. The last 2 to 3 years have been so absurd and bizarre that many people have actually migrated from green into yellow. They were ripe already. They were already at the brink, but they couldn't make the jump without some clear sign that there is something on the other side. And many people have seen this clearly in the last 2 years, that something is wrong in this would-be setup, in this stage we usually take for reality. So now that the crisis is hopefully over, I rechecked, and Peter was right. I think his estimates were a bit too optimistic, but he was right. Before the crisis and during the crisis, in most countries except 2, the yellow and yellow plus Spell Dynamics center of gravity percentages were less than 1%. They were negligible, just as we have been taught by the Spell Dynamics founders. But once you have more than 10% green center of gravity in a country, it's possible that a lot of people will topple over into yellow. And there were countries with 30% or so green. The 2 exceptional countries were Denmark and Bhutan. They already had 1% or more of yellow plus center of gravity population, but they're very, very small countries, very tiny population. All other countries were below 1%, although some Scandinavian countries were already approaching 1%, like Sweden, Norway, Netherlands. The overall center of gravity has not changed much. It's still mostly orange, some blue-orange. Countries, for example, that are very business-oriented, like the USA and Great Britain, are mostly orange, 50% orange center of gravity population. But there are a lot of countries where it's, for example, 30% blue, 30% orange, 30% green. Germany, for example. We will not talk about red, purple and beige today. It's mostly a low percentage, 10% or lower. What is interesting today for this video is how many people have made it from green into yellow. Turquoise, coral and so on is also negligible. I will just sum them up within yellow. So yellow plus. Yellow or further. How many percent? So in Denmark and Bhutan, it even increased a few percent. But in most countries, it's 1%. At least most modern wealthy countries, where you don't have to worry about your daily bread so much. Denmark, for example, has a population of about 5.8 million. That's not much. That's like a big city in other countries. If 5% of the population of Denmark is in a yellow or yellow plus center of gravity, then this is 290,000 people. That's a lot in Denmark. And 10 or 20 years ago, it would be unthinkable in spiral dynamics circles. But take a huge country like the United States of America, with about 330 million overall population. 1% of 330 million is 3 million. So the question is, are there really 3 million yellow-centered people running around in the United States of America? Hard to imagine, but possible. Why? Because there was probably no country where the political atmosphere was as absurd and bizarre the last 2 or 3 years than in the USA. It was everywhere it was bizarre, but the USA was kind of the center of the whole thing. So this led to a lot of people making this step towards human adulthood. Not necessarily waking up or enlightenment. Many people confuse the step from green to yellow with waking up or even enlightenment. I hear this again and again. People say, when I woke up, this and that happened. But what they're describing is the transition from green to yellow. It's not waking up. Waking up is that you stop taking your personality personal and seriously. It's waking up in the dream. That you know that you're living in a dream. That's waking up. You can't change it yet, but you know it. Yellow is such a big step because it's the transition from first tier into second tier. It's not about personality development and personal gain anymore. It's about the collective and about the soul in the second tier. This starts with yellow. Yellow is the opening up to all kinds of possibilities. It's a new world to explore. Instead of just complaining and rebelling like you do in green, you actually open up to all kinds of possibilities and see a much larger picture, which can be frightening at first and disorienting, and is often, but still, it's the first step towards more truth. And since there have been so many lies recently, more truth is what people wanted, so it enabled them to transition into yellow. So, Peter, thank you. You were spot on. It has happened. The Humpty Dumpty phase has happened and is probably still continuing. People are transitioning into yellow center of gravity in the 100,000s and millions. At the forefront are the Scandinavian countries like Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Netherlands, and Bhutan. But other countries are following, and each country that reaches 1% is already a huge step. If you compare negligible, much less than 1% to 1%, it's many times what it has been before. It's not a 1% increase. From more or less 0 to 1%, it's not a 1% increase, it's a 100% increase. Or 1,000%. I'm not a mathematician, it's a lot. It's more than from 1 to 2% or from 2 to 3%. Because from 0, almost nothing, to 1% means something came into existence. So let's see, maybe Denmark will develop 10% during the next years. Who knows? It's possible. And after Denmark and Bhutan, Netherlands is on place 3. Then Norway and Iceland, and then some other countries. If you look at the Hawkins scale, nothing much has changed. It's actually gotten worse a little bit. Yeah, it used to be 205, 210 before the crisis, and now in most countries it's back to 200. But all in all, it's still between 200 and 210, so nothing much has changed. Because the overall percentage doesn't give you much to think about. Same as the overall center of gravity of a country. It's mostly orange or blue-orange. There's not much information. You have to look at the individual percentages. Many more people have gone back 1 or 2 colors to orange or blue than have migrated upwards towards green or yellow. The fear of losing your livelihood pushes many people into blue or red or purple or beige even, while others get pushed into green or yellow or turquoise or coral. Anywho, very interesting times, and we have a lot of yellow-centered people around now all over the world. That should be cool. Let's see what this leads to in the next few years. Thank you, Peter, again from White Light District, and thank you to all my Patreons. Thank you to all of you, and see you soon.